Welcome to Masters of Self University podcast, your highest source of sacred truths and universal wisdom. Hello, beautiful souls. I'm Rachel Fiori, mystic, spiritual teacher, psychic healer, and founder of Masters of Self University. Join our journey of soul transformation as we deep dive into this latest episode. Hello, beautiful souls. Welcome to this episode of Masters of Self University podcast. I'm Rachel Fiori. Thank you for joining me today. We are going to dive in and talk about how changing the tone of her voice turns men into monsters. Oh, the tone of voice when it changes. Uh-oh, a lot of triggers there. So before I dive into this and really explain my experiences in, the last 25 or so years, nearly 25 years of behavioral, mental, emotional health. Okay. Whew, yes. Women can get really triggered by their partners. This is especially true in partnerships, romantic partnerships, of course. Women can get very, very triggered when a man changes his tone of voice and speaks to her in a nasty way, derogatory way, whatever way. She can get very triggered and offended by that. And there you're in a conflict. There you're in the hamster wheel of your wounded shit, your unhealed wounds, right? But I am going to focus today on how men turn into monsters when she changes her tone of voice in front of him. And why am I going to focus on that? Because in my nearly 25 years of specializing in mental, emotional, behavioral health, I can tell you this is mostly a man problem. That's why. It is way more common that men in their emotional fragility get so flippin' triggered. I have seen this. I couldn't tell you how many times. Countless times I have seen this in relationship coaching and relationships and my clients that have come to me over the years. So here tends to be the problem. Now, listen, I want you to listen to this. If this doesn't necessarily pertain to you, I'm still going to invite you to listen to the full episode. Okay. Women, if you are the ones that do this, if you listen to this and it is not your, it's not your husband, for example, it's not him that does it, you actually do this, then yes, of course, this pertains to you and you need to listen to it as if I'm speaking to you. Because of course, women can do this too. All right. But this is predominantly a man's trigger and a man's slew of programs that he runs where he suddenly turns into this monster in the relationship when she changes her tone of voice. So let's talk about why, what's going on here and what this looks like. Countless times I have seen this scenario play out. A wife will say something to a husband and she starts to get, frustrated with him. She's frustrated about something, about anything, possibly him. Okay. And the second her emotionality is heard through her voice, she does not even have to be, nasty or sarcastic or demeaning or putting him down or you son of a bitch. It doesn't have to be anything like that at all. I'm not even talking about verbal abuse. I'm talking about just, in my tone, honey. It's just this frustration comes out. Okay. Our emotionality absolutely is going to flow through our verbal expression. Now, let me be clear. I am not talking about, oh my God, well, there you go, fucking up again. I'm not talking about that. I'm not talking about verbal abuse. I'm talking about when the woman is, oh, okay, listen. And then boom, the man gets triggered and flips the fuck out. And what will happen is he heard a change in her tone, which really, what does that mean? That her tone of voice changed. What he heard in his dysfunction, in his emotional fragility, what he heard with that change of tone in her voice You are unhappy with me. I'm inadequate. I'm not good enough, etc., etc. That's what he hears in that moment. That's an unhealed toxic man in his emotional fragility programs. That his low emotional IQ can't even handle a woman who changes her tone of voice when she is upset or frustrated with something or sad about something or whatever. The change of tone instantly triggers him to go into defensiveness, and almost always instantly following defensiveness is almost simultaneous. Defensiveness, attack. Oh, it's so fascinating. His tone will now become extraordinarily aggressive. His tone of voice changes to where he attacks, attacks, attacks. It's instantly this, he has to make her feel small. He has to attack. Why? Because a moment ago, that tone of voice changed in his unhealed wounding, AKA dysfunction. He interprets a change of tone in her voice to mean that she is frustrated, unhappy with him. He isn't good enough. He's not capable. He gets it wrong all the time. Nothing he ever does is good enough for her. And all the mental programs and all the emotional programs get triggered and activated, all because he's too emotionally immature to handle emotional expression through her voice. And again, I am not talking about her screaming and shouting and attacking him and saying what a piece of shit he is. I'm not talking about verbal abuse. I'm talking about a simple change of tone of voice. It is so fucking common. Try to get frustrated or angry or exhausted or whatever your emotionality is in that moment because you're human, and not have that be expressed through your voice. You're not a fucking robot. You're going to hear the tone of voice change in a person who's tired, who's angry, who's frustrated, who's expressing themselves in a powerful way. The tone, of course, is going to change. And instantly, what happens is all my programs of inadequacy, of powerlessness, of emotional immaturity, my emotional low IQ, my emotional fragility shows up, gets activated by that. Why? Uh-oh, change of tone means change of emotion. Change of emotion when I have a low emotional IQ, when I'm emotionally fragile, when I am in my weakness, not my power. I'm not emotionally mature enough, mentally mature enough to handle your change of emotion. I selfishly make it all about me, 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 what this could mean for me. How fucking selfish am I? I don't allow you and offer the spaciousness for you to move through an emotion in a very healthy way simply by feeling what you feel. Why don't I do that? Because I don't know how to fucking do it for myself. That's why. Boom. Do you see it? I would lovingly encourage a lot of you to rewind what I just said and play it again. I am too emotionally mature. I don't have the skills and the ability right here, right now, in this moment to handle the fact that I can sense a different emotion inside of you when you are anything but a soft, gentle, subservient, quiet, passive person in front of me, stable, don't raise your voice. Women aren't motherfucking robots, and neither are you. Stop oppressing women. Stop suppressing, forcing them to suppress their fucking emotions because you're too goddamn immature and childish to handle your own, which means you're too goddamn immature and childish to handle hers. It is time to grow the fuck up. We need to mature here because this is ridiculous. And what I have seen over and over again is when that gets triggered in unhealed men, the violence comes out, the verbal abuse comes out. With men who are, I don't see myself as an abuser. What are you talking about? I'm not a verbal abuser. Yes, you fucking are. Because what I've seen a million times over in the last nearly 25 years in doing this work is when that gets activated in an unhealed man, an emotionally immature man, his little boy gets activated, and then come the aggressors, the defensiveness, the attack, the screaming, the yelling, the putting, the name calling, the putting down, the raising, we want to talk about a change of tone. Holy shit, does that tone become sarcastic and demeaning and aggressive and violent, that tone. You don't have to ever, participate in domestic violence, meaning physical violence, to be a violent man. That right there is a violent fucking man. And I've seen a million of them in my practice where they get triggered because her tone of voice, and I hear this over and over. Oh my God, if I had $100 bill for how many times I've heard a man say in couples coaching or even in one-on-one coaching, her tone, it was her tone. Like, you're a fucking man. You're not mature enough. You're not an adult enough to be able to hear her tone of voice change and for you to not lose your fucking shit and become this crazy, aggressive, barbaric, dominating lunatic where you're now verbally abusing and verbally attacking her, trying to make her feel inferior and small, intimidating her, bulldozing her, becoming the bully over her to get her to feel small enough and afraid enough of you so she'll never change her tone again from a soft tone so that you don't fucking get triggered. You have got to be kidding me. Oh, men, boy, am I talking to you here. Humans, men and women, both. We are not fucking robots. We are on this planet to move through every goddamn emotion that exists. When you don't do that, you are either a fucking sadistic serial killer or on your way to become one, or you are a crazy abuser because you've been forced from the time you were a child, from the time you were in boyhood, very early on, you have been forced and lied to and brainwashed into being weak, emotionally fragile, unable to handle any fucking thing emotionally because you've been forced to suppress your own emotions, which keeps you in weakness, not in your power. And you wonder why something as simple as a motherfucking change of tone of voice in a woman is going to trigger you to flip the fuck out. You have a lot of healing to do. This needs to be healed. When I say you have a lot of healing to do, I am never saying that with judgment. I'm saying that just simply from truth. That is a divine truth. You have a tremendous amount of healing to do when something like tone of voice can trigger you to that fucking degree. And I see it constantly. This hasn't happened once or twice in the 25 years I've been doing this. It is so common. It is unbelievable to me that it is this common. And again, mostly men are doing this. Okay. And yes, of course, I'm going to say this one more time. Women, if you're the one doing this in a relationship, because yes, it can be the woman that does this too. If you are, of course, I'm talking to you right now too. All right. But this is predominantly a man's problem. This is a toxic male program. Many male run. This is all part of toxic masculinity, that I'm so emotionally fragile. I can't handle her tone of voice change. Do you even hear how that sounds? Someone's tone of what, when they change their tone, you get triggered. And some men in their programming, hours of trying to then be the aggressor and trying to initiate conflict and trying to start a fight from that. Meanwhile, you've intimidated her to the point where she shuts up, shuts down, is forced to suppress everything. She can't, in a healthy, safe way, move through her emotions or heal herself in this moment because you, as the aggressor, as the abuser, and yes, this is abuse, are forcing her to sit down, shut up, and not change her tone of voice so that you don't get triggered. You've got to be fucking kidding me. This is a serious problem. It's a very common one. Okay. In our conversations with each other, even when there's a conflict, of course, we learn by healing ourselves, we learn to have a conflict and move through a conflict where, for the most part, yes, of course, we're spaciousness. I can disagree with you. I can be really angry right now and let you know I am really angry about this and not, I'm fucking angry. No, we don't project onto other people. We don't act out our anger behaviorally. We don't run behavioral programs of anger just because emotionally we are angry. There's nothing wrong with being angry. Nothing wrong with anger. It's fine. Our behavioral programs of anger are where we screw up. That's our mistake. We don't act it out, take it out on others because we're angry or we're frustrated. Here's where you see it a lot. You see it in, you can see it in professional sports. Just happened in the NFL. Somebody who supposedly has a great reputation and how he shows up in the world, good guy, quote unquote, and then he shoves somebody that walked in front of him. I'm not going to say names and I'm not going to go into that because it doesn't matter. Most of you, any of you listen to that stuff and know what I'm talking about, that's all you need. You know what I'm talking about. Okay. Here's the thing. When it comes to stuff like that, we need to stop making excuses that because I'm frustrated and angry right now, I become physically violent and put my hands on somebody. I act out my aggression onto others. The behavioral program of shoving somebody, the behavioral program of verbally abusing somebody, for example, going back to the relationship example that I started with, that behavioral program, there's no excuse for that. There is nothing wrong with being frustrated. That is healthy. It's okay. We need to learn how to heal that, process it, and move through it in real time so that our frustration or our anger doesn't get behaviorally acted out onto other human beings. That's where we fuck up. Go backwards. I'm going to reverse engineer this. Where we fuck up prior to that is the fact that we don't know how to process what we're feeling in real time. I don't care if it's in the middle of a fucking game. You can learn what it means to process. It's an energetic thing. I teach it. I coach it. Our Masters of Self University coaches, this is what we teach people so that you can become powerful and not these emotionally fragile little immature brats who act out their anger and become these dominating fucking abusers all the time because you're too emotionally immature to handle some fucking anger or some frustration or the fact that things aren't going your way. Life isn't good for you in this hour, this moment, this day, this month, this year. So you think you can act your shit out and your emotional pain out onto others. No more do we do this. We need to learn how to be better humans. And men, you need to grow up and learn how to be better men. Yes, I'm calling you out because you have no excuse not to heal yourselves. You have the goddamn resources now. You have the deep level of transformation, these deep, beautiful, magnificent, powerful programs to show you step by step how to actually heal all of this pain you carry inside of yourselves. Let me tell you something, and hear me loud and hear me clear. It is not your fault that you learned from a very young age to force your emotions down, to suppress them because you were called a sissy, a pussy, a little bitch. Stop crying like a little fucking girl. You were fucking brainwashed and lied to that you are somehow strong because you don't feel shit or you hide your emotions. I hope you realize now when I tell you that's not strength. It's motherfucking weakness. That's not power. Power is the ability to feel what you feel and actually learn the energetic process, what it means to energetically process those emotions. They are painful. They need to be processed so they don't stick around, so they don't stay trapped inside of you. I'm going to say this again. It is not your fault that you were brainwashed from toxic patriarchy. You were brainwashed into being emotionally weak. Your emotional fragility that you were forced to learn, that was forced upon you by toxic masculinity, it isn't your fault that that was forced upon you. It is 100% your fault that you continue to carry those programs inside of you and act them out and play them out in this world and continue the toxicity in this world. It is your fault that you continue to carry it on instead of heal it within yourself. That's a divine level of accountability. It is not your fault that this fucked up world taught you this shit. It is your fault that you continue to repeat this fucked up shit and you don't heal it within yourself. That's your responsibility. We are not kind to our little boys, and unkind, that lack of kindness to little boys, they grow up to be unkind men. They don't get to emotionally mature. When boys learn this, they become men that carry this forward in their relationships, in life, in their sports, in their business transactions, and how they negotiate and how they deal with other people in the world. This is what they carry forth because this is what they learned. And then guess what? Unhealed men are the ones that turn violent. Unhealed men are the ones that turn violent. Violence on this planet is a man's problem. And that means it is a problem that men need to heal, and men are the solution for. And it can't come, uh-oh, I'm going to say it. Oh no, brace yourselves, open your hearts, breathe. It can't come from men. Because if you knew how to heal it, you would have done it already. You don't know how to heal this shit. This is the power of woman. This is the power of the feminine. To learn exactly what it is, how to heal all of this. All right? It's because we demean and squash and oppress the feminine energies within ourselves, then we then lose all fucking touch of reality of what it means to move through an emotion that is unpleasant, which means we have no ability at all, no skill set to allow, embrace with compassion and power and love and patience and safety and stability to other people, our partners, to women, to other men, to little boys, to little girls. We lack the ability then to be the spaciousness that they need to learn how to move through and process their own emotions. It doesn't mean you do it for them. You need to hold space. Get that fucking out of here. I'm sick of hearing that goddamn statement. Stop trying to hold space. Grab space. You can't. You can't fucking hold space. What you can become is a divinely mature, spiritually, emotionally, mentally mature, divine human being who is this powerful, loving spaciousness itself. So when other people feel frustration or anger or exhaustion or overwhelm or whatever they feel in your presence, you're not fucking triggered by it anymore, because only immature, unhealed little children get triggered by something as stupid as a tone of voice change. No more excuses for how we show up in this world and why we show up in this world. No more excuses not to heal ourselves. But let me tell you something else. I'm going to give you a tip. If you think by understanding this a little bit on a deeper level, yes, education, understanding is really critical, really important, really vital to our healing. That's why I educate while we move through the healing. Our coaching programs educate so you can understand and see why and how, what is really happening and why is it happening within me? Why is this the reaction that comes out of me? It is so important that you see that aspect. And it is important that you understand that. That's why we offer that level of education in our coaching programs at Masters of Self University. It is important that you see it so that you can heal it. But it is also important that you see it so that you can bring love and compassion to it. It is not your fault that those are the programs that were put in there. It is not your fault that they were there to begin with. It is your fault that they're not healed yet. You need to take the steps, take the responsibility to learning what it means to actually heal this crap. You don't deserve it, and the rest of the world doesn't deserve you to project this shit onto other people. No one else on this planet deserves your unhealed wounds and programs to be acted out on them, to be projected upon them. No one deserves it. No one. Okay? And you don't deserve it. You don't deserve to show up in a shitty way anymore. You yourself deserve to be better. Hear that, what that means. You yourself deserve to be better than that, to be healed, to be whole, to be powerful. Okay? I have people in couples coaching over the years, so many, where the second that tone of voice, it's their tone of voice. So here's what happens a lot of the time. Her tone of voice, of course, activates and triggers a slew instantaneously. Boom, 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 boom. So many programs. Uh-oh, I'm going to be screamed at. I'm not good enough. No matter what I do, it's never good enough. No matter what I do for you, I'm always wrong. Oh, does that sound familiar, men? You always feel like no matter what I do, it's never good enough. I'm always criticized by her. It's not black and white like that. There's a lot of distortion, a lot of unhealed wounds that are distorting your ability to read the fucking room accurately. Okay? You are the one, because you were forced to suppress your emotions and not express and feel and process them in a healthy way. In a healthy way. There's a very healthy way to process emotions so that they then are gone. They're done. Temporary experience, that frustration, gone. It doesn't turn into a freaking unhealed wound that has you rage out on people in the future as an adult. You can learn how to process this shit. Okay. But when you learn how to process in real time, because you were not taught that, you were not taught that. You were forced as a child. You were forced in our culture, our society. You were forced growing up to suppress all this shit. That your emotions, they don't matter. They mean nothing. You're weak, pathetic. If you feel feelings, that's so fucking psychotic. It is just the insanity of this. And that we still live like this is even more insane to me. But because you were forced to push down and suppress and keep it all in, what happens is you turn right around and project that onto the women in your lives, men, onto your wives, onto your significant others. You force them. The second you hear a change of tone of voice, you start getting triggered and activated in your wounds, your insecurities, your immaturities, your programs, and then you are forcing her to have to shut down, shut up, suppress in front of you. So whoever abused you in that way, and I don't care if you had a father or a parent that ever actually physically touched you, physically abused you or not, but forcing a child to shut up and not allow them to express emotions is fucking abuse, period, end. That is an aspect of emotional abuse. There's almost not a human on this planet, very small percentage of humans on this planet, that did not experience that level of emotional abuse. We grew up in times where you were not allowed to express emotions ever, let alone a healthy way to express emotions. Emotions are unhealthy. That's how we were treated. That's what we were taught, and especially in boys. Because you were abused emotionally, again, wake up, you were speaking truth. You were abused emotionally by being forced to suppress your own emotions. Now as an adult, you're forcing your partner, your significant other, your wife to suppress hers. You've become the abuser. You're doing exactly to her what was done to you as a child. I've seen this 1,000 times. And you need to wake up to it. Because it didn't feel good when it happened to you, did it? It was awful. It's horrific to feel that inside, to have somebody forcing you to suppress everything you're feeling, like somehow what you're feeling is wrong or bad. That is insanity. It is abuse. And then we learn that that's how we're supposed to behave, and that's how we're supposed to show up, and that's how we show up as men. We learn that. We learn that's how we're supposed to show up as men. And then we treat women with the same level of abuse, and we treat our children, our little boys, our little girls with that same level of abuse. And we wonder why humanity and our planet is so fucked up. It's easy when you reverse engineer it and start seeing all the programs we run, where they come from, why they're there, how they got created. And it is our job now to do the work to heal this shit so that we no longer treat others the way that we were fucking treated. And what that also includes, because this is an aspect of oneness consciousness. When I first learned how to heal myself fully, how not to force myself into emotional suppression, Organically, as a byproduct, I simply no longer do that to other people. I'm going to say this in a different way. When I no longer emotionally abuse myself, I then, with love and power, with wholeness, with self empowerment, with my divinity, I no longer emotionally abuse others. Don't you dare sit there in your ignorance and dismiss this like you yourself are not an emotional abuser, because most of us fucking are. Yes, we are. But I'm not. And some of you will even say, but I'm a highly sensitive person, and I'm an empath, and I'm spiritual, and I'm a this, and I'm a that, and I'm a blah, 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 label, 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 label. And then you're lying to your fucking self saying you couldn't possibly emotionally abuse anybody. And yet, the second you say to somebody, I don't like your tone of voice, there it is. The second you force your partner to shut up and be quiet versus allowing them, becoming the spaciousness for them to express themselves. Now, I'm talking in a healthy way. I'm not talking about allowing your partner to scream at you and emotionally abuse you. Of course, I'm not saying that. I'm talking about healthy expression, healthy emotion. I'm just sharing. I am so frustrated today. And I'm supposed to fucking suppress my goddamn frustration and my tone of voice because you're too emotionally fragile and too emotionally immature to handle the fact that I'm frustrated today has nothing to do with you, but you can't fucking handle the fact that another person was frustrated? Are you serious? This is how we're showing up in our relationships. And then our mental insanity, our mental programs start telling the craziest fucking stories. Well, your tone of voice changed. So I know what that means. Do you though? Because what it really means is your tone of voice now is changing. You're becoming the aggressor, the abuser. You are now emotionally abusing, raising your voice, becoming the bully, bulldozing, talking over, interrupting, not letting her speak and share. And again, women, I'm gonna say this one more time. You fucking do it too, some of you. So I am of course talking to you too. Those of you that do this, of course I'm talking to you too. This is not 100% a man's problem. It is predominantly though a man's problem. Let's get real. We got to come from truth. Have to address it. So, men, this is an extreme behavior program, an extreme sign of how much healing that needs to happen. And so it is your responsibility. It is your job. It is your duty to yourself, to others, to this planet, to this world, to all of humanity. It is time to heal yourselves. It really is. It is time. You don't get to say anymore like you're an immature little child. Well, her tone of voice changed. And that's why you became an aggressor, an abuser. That's where the domestic violence is coming from. Really? You're going to blame her tone of voice on your lack of self-control? Your abusiveness? You're going to blame her tone of voice. Are you listening to yourselves? Really? Ooh, how powerful women are. Isn't it amazing how powerful women are? That a slight change of tone of voice can trigger all of that in a mere man. Women must be more powerful than we give them credit for. If men can't even handle a change of tone of voice, something to think about. Listen, men, I'm going to talk to you directly right now. I am here to very lovingly and very powerfully punch you in the fucking face. That's what I do. If you don't know me yet, hi, it's nice to meet you. My name is Rachel, and I'm here to punch you in the face. Why am I here to punch you in the face with this truth? Because it's time somebody does. What you will never hear from me is judgment. I don't fucking judge. None of this is judgment. I do speak truth. If you're offended by it, you run the fucking programs I'm talking about. That's what it means to be offended. If you are offended by these teachings and the truth that I offer to the world, that lets you know you run the very fucking programs that I'm talking about, or you wouldn't be offended by it. When I talk about programs, I can talk about toxic femininity all fucking day long. Anybody can talk about toxic femininity to me. Am I offended by that? No. I don't carry those programs. Why would I be offended by things that I don't carry? I really want you to hear that. If you are getting offended by listening to this stuff, then you run the fucking programs I'm talking about, and you're part of the problem of the world. And again, I don't say that with judgment. I say it from motherfucking truth. And it is time that we stood in our power and learned what it means to shift into our power, to see how we are actually showing up in this world versus how we like to think we are, versus how we put and wear our masks to pretend to everybody else out there, I'm this, I'm that. This is the mask I'm wearing. Instead of, you know what? I realize I'm a goddamn abuser. I emotionally abuse my partner in these ways. I don't want to be that kind of man anymore. Nor should you want to be that kind of man anymore. And here's the other truth I'm going to offer to you. You can heal every fucking last crumb of it. You just have to be willing and you have to be devoted to learning how. That's it. You just have to be willing and devoted. Okay. I know in all of the God knows how many men I've worked with over the years, the last couple of decades, couldn't even put a number on it at this point. I don't know. And in all of the men that I have worked with, not one of the, I have never, at least personally, I've never once come across one man that at the end of the day, as he's working hard and healing himself, I've never come across one that said, you know what? I really want to show up as an abuser, as a motherfucking cocksucking asshole. I love to be a fucking dick. I want to treat everybody that I love as a fucking motherfucking piece of shit. I want to be a fucking asshole. I have never come across a man who wants to be those things. I have never come across a man, no matter how broken, no matter how unhealed, no matter what his past is, no matter the horrific things he has done. When he comes to me for help, usually people who come to me for help, they're desperate. They've tried everything else first. And like, nothing has worked, nothing has worked. And now you're ready to do the real work because we're going to go deep. And in all of those men that I have worked with, when they're really ready to go deep and heal this shit for real, not one of them has ever said to me, I really just want to continue to be an abuser, dominating fucking asshole, making everybody feel like shit. I really want to continue to be so emotionally fragile. I can't handle fucking anything in life. I can't handle my wife changing her tone of voice. I want to continue to be this immature, emotionally fragile little boy that can't handle fucking anything in life. I want to be that way. None of them have ever said that to me. None of them. I know that you don't want to show up in the ways that a lot of you show up. I know you don't want to, but I also know that you don't know how to heal it, or you would have healed it already. And that's where I have this loving spaciousness for you, and where I embrace you to come get a consultation at Masters of Self University with one of our coaches. Reach out, seek the help that is here for you. It would be one thing if the help at this level, at this deepest level, didn't exist. It does exist. Okay. I know that you don't want to show up this way in your life, in business, in work, in your friendships, in your relationships, and as sure as hell don't want to show up in your romantic relationships. I know you don't. Okay. So I have a lot of compassion when it comes to this, because these things are deeply ingrained in most men. They just are, until you learn how to go in deeply and heal them one step at a time. Bite-sized pieces, achievable pieces. Really, I mean that. You can achieve this step by step. takes time, and it takes willingness and devotion. But you have it inside of you to do it. You have the power inside of you. You don't have the skills or the know-how yet, or you would have changed by now. All right. So I am putting a call out to all the men listening to this right now. All the women, if this is you that I'm actually talking to, and in your relationship, it's actually your husband, who is the one who's like cool, calm, and collected, and you're forcing him. If you're the one that I've been talking about and you're the woman, then of course, reach out. We are here for you. This is what we do at Masters of Self University. Okay. But to all the men, I want to say this to you. Schedule a free consultation. Look at our classes that we offer. Sign up for the group classes. Sign up for one-on-one coaching. Sign up for relationship coaching with us. We will show you step by step how to no longer have something as simple as how changing the tone of her voice turns you into monsters. You don't need to turn into an out of control, overreactionary, I lose control of myself man. That's not a man. That is toxic masculinity at its best. Okay? You have it inside of you to heal this, and we will show you the way. We will show you how to do it. Divine masculine man, divine masculinity is strength, safety, and stability. That right there is divine masculinity. Period. End. Strength, safety, and stability. It is not safe when you're reactionary and you lose your shit. It isn't safe for you, and it sure as hell isn't safe for anybody else around you, especially your partner and your children if you have them. It is not stability. Emotional stability is a divine masculine characteristic. Strength, safety, stability is divine masculine. Stability means emotional stability. You flying off the fucking handle, being emotionally volatile because you can't fucking handle other people's emotions and you can't handle your own. That is not stability. And a divine masculine man has the strength, the safety, and the stability to offer to others, to offer to himself, and to offer that to his partner, and to offer that to his children, and to offer that to everyone in the world that he comes across, because divine masculinity is strength, safety, and stability. If you are not those three things, if you're not showing up in that way, please stop hesitating and reach out. Go to mastersofselfuniversity.com. Get the guidance you need to heal everything that is preventing you from becoming a purely divine masculine man. I know you do not want to show up in toxic ways. I know you don't. That's why I created Masters of Self University. Think about the name. I created it for this very reason. So there would finally be a resource that was so fucking powerful, so pure in what it is that we offer, and so deeply transformational. The only way this work doesn't work is if you fail to do it, meaning you choose not to do the work. That's it. This work works. And everybody who is willing and devoted and actually does the work says it in the end. And I will repeat that. I've had this repeated to me so many times. Whatever it is that you charge is not enough. What you do is priceless. I can't force you. Our coaches, our certified coaches in this work at Masters of Self University cannot force you to do the work. We can support you. We can love you. We can guide you. We can show you how step by step by step. We can recalibrate and get you back on track if you start to get off track. We are here for you 100%, but we still can't do the work for you. You've got to do that work for yourselves. But we're here to guide you every step of the way. So again, men, I'm calling to you because I know you don't want to show up in these toxic ways anymore. I know you don't. The world needs you to heal. This world needs you to be better. Everybody needs you to be better. Okay? We need you to be healed, powerful, and whole. We want you, divine masculine men. We want you to show up as strength, stability, and safety. We want that. That's what divinity is, expressed through masculinity. So reach out, Masters of Self University, get a free consultation, sign up for our classes and programs so that you can truly, fully step into that beautiful divine masculinity that everyone in the world benefits from. You, right there, becoming fully divinely masculine as a man in this world, you, right there, are the solution we need on this planet to end violence. Violence is a man's problem, not a woman's. It's a man problem. So we need men to heal themselves in order to become elevated enough to help other men heal themselves in order to help heal the violence of this planet, the violence in this world. I am calling to you, men. You have it inside of you to do it, but you need the guidance and the teachings from Masters of Self University to get there. We are here for you. Having said that, make sure you smash that like button, please. Be sure to subscribe so you get the notices of when we have other episodes and other topics that you want to learn from and heal from come out. Share this with everybody you know, or with a man or a woman who would really benefit from hearing this particular episode, this particular topic. Share, share, share. Spread the love, spread the wisdom. All right? Spread the love, spread the wisdom. Thank you for listening. Thank you for being here with me today. We appreciate you always. Smash that like button, subscribe, and we'll see you in the next episode. Bye for now, everybody.